going on, everybody? My name is Philip Dancy, founder of Dancy With Money, and welcome to another edition of the Play Money series. Today we have the pleasure of having Maya Mitchell, aka Miss Young Homeowner. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So if you could just start by giving us a little background about yourself, like where you're from.
Yeah, so my name is Maya, born and raised in Prince George's County, Maryland. I went to Hampton University, which is how I know you. Graduated there with my undergrad in business administration, and then I started working full-time in corporate America. I've been there ever since 2015. Went back to school to get my MBA, and now I'm dabbling in this whole real estate world.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then speaking of real estate, can you tell us a little bit, for those who don't know, can you tell us a little bit about Miss Young Homeowner, the reason behind starting this platform?
Yeah, sure. So I have an online platform called Miss Young Homeowner, and our goal is to really just kind of educate millennials on the home buying process and just to advocate for homeownership amongst especially minority millennials, because the percentage for minority millennials who own homes is just really abysmal. And so I bought a home back when I was 24, and the process was just really painstaking. It was long, it was stressful, and I was just like, is there not a resource out there to just at least at the bare minimum keep me motivated when I feel like giving up, yet alone provide me with like information? And so I was like, there's not one, so let me create one. Okay. And that's how Miss Young Homeowner came about. And so we are really at the infancy stages of what I envision us doing and being long term. So,
no, I definitely agree. I'm glad you started this platform. So one thing you mentioned is that you got your first home when you were 24. So I know a lot of people at 24, they're starting their careers, we have this, this student loan debt crisis that's going on. So like, can you walk me through your why? Like, what was your why of wanting to purchase your home at 24?
Yeah. So when I first graduated school, I didn't have the ambition to buy a home within the next 2 to 4 years, but I just started saving my money as if I was going to buy something. And so I started saving more than half of my paycheck, did a bunch of automatic deductions, and about a year and a half into like just going to work and saving my money, I was like, I want to do something big with this. I'm like actually accumulating a substantial amount. Let me move out my parents' house. I live in the DMV area, and it is it doesn't make sense to rent here. Okay. If you can purchase in this area, you might as well, because the rent prices here equate to a mortgage, if not more. And my parents always instilled within me the value of being an owner, and the value of just having your own. And so I kind of just wanted to buy a home just based off of what they told me and based on the market. And so I kind of got serious about finding a realtor and looking at homes once I kind of reached my like threshold. Like if I have X amount of money saved, I'm gonna start looking at homes, I'm gonna start researching. And once I was nearing that, then it was like, okay, I wanna be a homeowner.
Okay. Yeah. And then I guess during your home buying process, was there like anything that scared you like about the process?
Everything scared me. The fact that you're just spending so much money on this purchase is the most money that you'll ever spend, that I've ever spent in one single transaction. The fact that you're young and it's intimidating, you're going out with your realtor to look at properties, and the realtor at the home might be looking at your realtor like, oh, so you want to buy this home? And it's like, no, I'm actually the client. So there was an ageism thing. Okay. The fact that this whole like you said, the student loan like crisis that's happening, and just it's just a scary process to do something that you've never done. I know my parents have done it, but it's a different day and age from when they bought their home, and so it's just very scary doing something that you've never done and doing something that requires so much money. It's just intimidating.
I completely agree. And then I guess while speaking of the money, I feel like a lot of people, even myself, when they hear about like that 20% down payment, like you said, it's a lot of money to go into a house. So I was wondering, like, what was your approach in order to save for the down payment, and like how did you get around? Like, did you have to pay the full 20%, or were there any other programs that you took advantage of?
So as a first-time home buyer, you do not have to put 20% down on a home. There are so many programs that specifically help first-time home buyers, especially in the state of Maryland. There's even a program that helps target your student loans while helping you put down money for a down payment. And so depending on your credit score and the type of loan you qualify for, you can put as little as 3% down on a home, which is kind of what I did. I ended up qualifying for a conventional loan, which equates to putting about 3.5% down. Of course, the more money you put down on your home, the lower your mortgage payments are. It's better in the long run because you'll be able to ideally pay off your home quicker.
Okay.
But that shouldn't be a reason that stops millennials from buying a home, that 20% down payment. You can totally circumvent that through first-time home buyer programs. And depending on your state, you can stack those programs together. So you can find a program here, you can find a loan here, you can find a grant here, and end up just paying for your closing costs, end up just paying for your earnest money deposit or your furniture. And so I was able to circumvent that by finding a good realtor and a good agent, lender rather. Those are the folks that are going to be most knowledgeable about the first-time home buyer programs in your area.
Okay.
A lot of those programs do have strict stipulations, like you have to make a certain amount of money, you have to live in the home a certain amount of years, you can't refinance, but it's worth it if you can just get away with putting as little down as possible. So
Okay.
it's scary, but it shouldn't be a deterrent for sure.
I totally get that. All right. And then I'm sure with home ownership, there are definitely some benefits. Could you walk us through like some of the benefits that you have seen since becoming a homeowner?
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest is just being able to say you have your own. It's nothing like being able to move out of your parents' house and having that autonomy back and being able to go home, invite friends over, and just having your own sacred space. Another huge benefit is just the equity. You can either like put your money in a savings account every month and it gains 0 interest or 1.1% interest. You can diversify your portfolios or whatever, but basically when I pay my mortgage, I'm putting it into what I like to think of as a savings account that I can only tap into. If I wanted to get a second mortgage or liquidate the equity in my home, I have that cash between the time I purchase my home based on what it's appraised at now. Like that's what I could walk away with if I sold it. And so, of course, the equity is a huge benefit of home ownership. There's a lot of great tax implications. When I did my taxes last year, I was like, oh, okay. So you can write off basically your mortgage interest as a tax write-off, if you will. And there's a lot of costs that come with home ownership, but overall, like I said, just being able to, on a personal note, having the goal of wanting to buy something and then actually being able to do it, I think that does a lot for your esteem and your psyche, knowing that there's this goal that adults can't even accomplish and that like you've been able to do it on your own.
Okay. Yeah. And then I guess speaking of costs, since becoming a homeowner, like what are some like unexpected costs that have come up recently, and like how have you prepared a little bit more now that you understand the cost may happen?
Yeah, so during the home buying process, there's hella costs associated. You have your earnest money deposit, which is basically like once you say you want this home, you like are putting your stake in the game. You're telling the seller like, I want this home, this is my earnest money deposit, take this home off the market for other people to even look at. You have your closing costs, you have a bunch of different, you have to pay for your title insurance. There's a lot of costs associated with buying the home. But when you move in, I felt like nobody told me about all the other things that happen afterwards. But of course you have your month-to-month mortgage, which I help offset that by having a renter. So I have 3 bedrooms and I'm renting out 1. And so that really helps, even if you don't have extra bedrooms, just Airbnb-ing it out or kind of figuring out a way to like leverage your home to help you pay your monthly mortgage. Of course you have all your other bills, your electricity, you have your condo fee or your HOA fee depending on what type of property you have. And that can be a lot. It varies based on the area you're in. So once again, the DMV is very expensive. We have like a water sewage bill that we pay every year, which is just like, okay, I guess. There's just a lot of stuff depending on who does your mortgage. They'll also take care of your property taxes. So that goes into your escrow every year or every month that you pay. So there's a lot of different one-off fees, but for anyone who's out there who's thinking about buying a home, I would say as you're saving, just on a monthly basis, start to save what you would think your mortgage would be.
Okay.
So before I even bought my home, I would save what I thought a mortgage would be based on the homes in the area that I was living in. And so if you're already used to saving that amount of money, when you move, it's not going to change. You're already used to allocating that money or not seeing it and living off of everything else.
Okay. No, I definitely love that tip. All right. I might have to start doing that myself.
Yeah.
Yes. And then, so with home buying, there's a bunch of myths that are out there. So I was wondering, since moving into your place, like, what are some myths that you realize that just aren't true?
So the 20% thing, was gonna be like, it was a big thing that was deterring me for home ownership, and I've learned there's so many programs out there. I've learned that you can stack those programs. I've learned that even after you buy your home, your first time home buyer credit can renew in certain states. And so that's a myth. I've learned a lot about what we call house hacking. So once again, if you have 3 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, you can live in one, rent out the other. If you buy a multi-unit property, live in one, rent out the other. That can help offset your costs. I've learned that even if you buy a new construction property, things are still gonna break. I would say about every month, because that's been my case. Sometimes it's as little as I don't know, paint chipping off the wall, and then sometimes it's as big as like a hole in your ceiling. I've had a range of it all. So just because you buy new construction doesn't mean that you're free from repairs, but also if you buy an older home, make sure that you get the backstories on like the ceiling and make sure that the basement's never been flooded, things like that. And then I think just like know that the expenses doesn't stop when you move in. Like there's still gonna be things that you need to repair or fix or upgrade. It's like constant maintenance. But aside from that, like you get what you get. Don't do this unless you're like willing to research. Like 6 months of research, solid, like on Google, 30 minutes a day, where you wanna live, why, the school district, the house value, like the neighborhoods around you, what they're being appraised for, all those things matter. Yeah.
And then I guess wrapping up, what is like one piece of advice that you would give to anybody just looking to purchase a home, like that one key thing that you wish you knew that you would give to somebody else?
There's so many things. I think the first thing is just doing your research. I feel like people kind of want to bypass that and find a realtor and like look at homes, or like download the Zillow app and then just start like bookmarking all the homes that they like. But there's so much work that you should do before you even get to that step. Like you should personally assess if you are ready to take on home ownership. It's a huge responsibility. You should assess your finances. Like how much are your expenses on a monthly basis compared to your income? Like, can you afford a mortgage? What does that look like? And then from there, looking at your credit report. Have you ever done your credit report? Do you even like know what your credit score is? All of these things are going to determine the mortgage that you get approved for. And so knowing these things well in advance can help you then come up with your savings plan. And then your savings plan can help you determine how long it'll take to save up for a down payment. You know what I mean? So it kind of all trickles into one another. And so if I had to do this all over again, I would have researched more and kind of been on that path to like doing my personal assessment, like figuring out how to save up for this down payment, and then kind of executing from there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then I guess where can the people follow you? Like,
so you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Miss Young Homeowner. We're also on YouTube. We have our YouTube channel, which we just interview different millennials and different people in the real estate process about all things real estate and all things involving homeownership. So make sure you follow us there. We're coming out with new episodes soon.
All right, there you have it, folks. Another edition of the Play Money series. Let us know how you liked it. Bye.
Bye.